Alright, so in this video I'm going to provide a fairly brief introduction to the concept of classes in Python. So Python has object-based or object-oriented components, which means that we want to be able to create different types of objects that have different properties and have different methods that can be applied to them. So this allows us to represent different types of data, like subtypes of data, so on and so forth. So in this example, what I'm doing is I'm creating a new class that's going to store and process information associated with like a college course. So to create a new class, you initiate it with the class keyword, and then you give it a name. So here I'm giving it the name course. And then we have a colon, and then inside of here, everything that's indented is how we're basically setting up this new class. So when you create a new class, you're generally going to start off with this init. So this is double underscore init, double underscore. So this is a constructor method. I believe it stands for initiate, and this basically allows you to set up the properties that are going to be associated with a new class. So within this new class course, every instance of the class will have a subject, so like geography, geology, English, whatever, a course number, like 101, and then a course name. Note the use of this self. What self does is it allows you to reference the current instance of the class that you're working with. So the current instance of the class has a certain subject property, a certain number property, a certain name property. And note that there's nothing special about self. That's just what's commonly used, but you can actually use another like variable name there if you want, and I'll show you some examples of that. So basically for this object, we initialize it and create the following properties. So it has a subject, a number, and a name. Classes can also have methods associated with them. And I've mentioned this before, but basically a method is basically a function that's tied to a class. So when we've seen other we've seen other examples of methods. So for example, using like .append on a list is a method associated with a list, for example. So whenever you create your own class, you can create your own functions, or in this case, they would be called a method that can be used on an instance of the class. So here I'm creating a new method. Note we use the def keyword there, and the method is going to be print course, and it's going to accept the current instance of the class, and then what that method does is basically just print out the course subject, number, and name as one string. Okay, so basically once you ran this code, this will initiate your new class, and then you can actually create instances of that class. So here I'm creating an instance of the class called X. Again, I use the class name to initiate it, and then I feed it its the properties. So geography 550, GIS science. And then here I'm actually using the method I created, so I'm doing X print course, and there's no required arguments there, and then it'll print back the course, and then I'm printing the type, and then I'm going to comment out these last two lines for now. So let me comment those out. And we run this. Okay, so we can see here that nothing got printed here, so you're just creating it. Here, again, I was just creating the instance of the class, and here I'm printing out the full course title using my method. So there you go. And if we print the type, we can see that it's main.course. So it's basically telling us that this is an instance of the course class which we just created. And now with these last couple of lines, I'm basically just changing. I'm changing the. I'm just changing the number, right? So x.number. So I'm basically assessing the property of that instance of the class, and I'm changing its value to 350, and then I'm rerunning my method to print the new name. And we can see now it says 350 instead of 550. So this is again just showing you how you can have access to the specific properties associated with an instance of a class. Okay, so once a class has been created, you can also create subclasses from it. And basically what this means is that you can basically adopt or all the conditions or some of the, or sorry, you can adopt the properties or some of the properties from the parent class and then manipulate it a bit to create like a subclass or a more specific version of the class. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating an undergrad subclass from the course class. So this first line of code is the same as what we did above. I'm just recreating the class again, just so that everything's in the same spot, but that's actually not necessary. And then to subclass the class, what you basically do is use the class keyword. This is the name of the subclass, and then inside of here we have the class that you are subclassing or that you're referencing. All right, and then with inside of the init here, we have again all the same properties. This is new, so this allows you to grab all the properties from the parent or course. So it's super.init, and then I'm listing out the properties that I want here. Note that I didn't grab the level because I'm changing the level here as a new property. So this is all just the same thing as from the parent class, and this allows me to add additional properties, for example. And here I've created another method called printCourse2, and then again it's just concatenating that out. All right, and then if I run that, you can see here, so this is initiating an instance of the undergrad class, and here I'm using my printCourse method on it and then my printCourse2 method on it. And you can see the difference between the print statements. So note here that I didn't have to recreate the printCourse method because I created this undergrad class from the course class. This adopted the printCourse method from the parent class or the course class. So you can see why subclassing is useful, because you can basically take something that's more general and then add some methods or properties or change things a bit to make it more appropriate for maybe a subtype of data, as you can see here. I did want to mention again that there's really nothing about self that's special. Again, you can use another word. So let me just make another box here. I'm going to copy just the course class definition into here. And I'm going to change self to just S. So we're just going to, again, we have to have that match everywhere. And S. And S. And S. Oh, one more. Alright, I think I changed that everywhere. So now if I initiate that, just add another block of code down here. So I'm just going to initiate an instance of that class. Let's do Geology 101 Planet Earth. And then we'll do x.print course. And there's that new instance of that class. So anyway, some people get confused. They think self is this really important word that has to be used in these class definitions, but it's actually not. It's just kind of the standard. All right, so what I find is that I don't make a lot of classes, but I use a lot of classes that other people create, or I subclass classes other people create. And different modules or libraries or whatever are going to make use of this more or less, or more so or less so. It just depends. So, for example, if you want to get into deep learning and you want to use the PyTorch framework, you'll find that you have to really understand how to use classes and subclass classes, because that's how you really interact with that with that library. So if you want to create like a data set or a data loader or a network or a neural network, you're basically taking these more generic classes that PyTorch has created, and then you're subclassing it. So it's just an example. So you'll see this a good bit. So even if you don't use it a lot, it's good to at least kind of understand the basic syntax and what's going on in here.